Awesome. All right, everybody. Paul Olbrantz with Loan Officer Academy, sitting here with Brendan McKay. Brendan, I'm really excited that you took the opportunity to join us today, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So a little bit about Brendan is he owns his own mortgage company, McKay Mortgage Company. That's right. That's an awesome name, by the way.
Yeah, it worked out,
and it's funny because he texted me randomly the other day. I just got to share this, right? And he sends me these two stats, and the stat, let me go to it real quick, is I'm number 39 and he's number 38. Right?
I whooped your ass good. Yeah.
And the best part was, I'm going to be honest with you, man, because I am super competitive. I like to pretend I'm not, but deep inside I'm going, oh man. So all these excuses why I could have been if I did this. But the truth is, and I need to give you so much love and respect, because a lot of my thing was I do vacations a lot. I do this, I do that. But man, how much you give back to the broker community and what you do, I can't even imagine how you do the volume you do and deal with all the stuff that you deal with in AIM and all that stuff, man. So not only am but so if you beat me, I'm just sharing love and respect.
I appreciate it. And we can talk about it today. I'll tell everyone how I do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's no mystery to it. So yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's
better luck next year.
Yeah, oh no, it's believe me, we'll talk next year, man. Danielle's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I hate Brandon. You're like pictures on my wall. I don't so just to remind everybody that usually every Monday, not next Monday, not this previous Monday, right? If you guys want to grow your business and you don't want to do it alone, I have the Zooming that you can come on and make phone calls with me. I call realtors every Monday, pre-approve my clients on Tuesday, pre-approvals on Wednesday, Thursday clients, Friday VIPs. Please join me. Then every week we have ideally a webinar like we're hosting today. So Brendan, man, we're going to talk about building your business through financial planners, but we can go wherever you want to go. So, the goal with this webinar is usually about an hour, and we want to give people a tool that they can use immediately into their business to help grow their business.
Yeah, we can definitely do that with financial advisors and a couple other topics too. But yeah, man, we can get started with financial advisors. Want to fire some specific questions at me, or you want me to just start blabbing, or what are you thinking?
Dude, I think it's more like, so let's pretend I'm a brand new loan officer.
Okay.
Coming up to you, I'm like, Brandon, I'm just starting my career. It's really slow. It's a different time. I want to build my business. How do I even begin building it with financial advisors?
Okay, cool. So the first step is, when you're approaching a financial advisor, you need to think about things from their perspective, not your perspective, which that is true with no matter who you're selling. They don't care about what you care about. They care about what they care about. And that sounds very obvious, but it's the first mistake every salesperson always makes. They just start vomiting at the mouth about all the stuff they have to offer without knowing if the person actually gives a shit about what they're offering, right?
Right.
And financial advisors, first and foremost, that loan officer needs to know that this is not going to be a relationship that's going to happen very quickly. There is no professional consumer, a B2C professional, business to consumer professional that requires a greater level of trust than a financial advisor, right? Like mortgages and loan officers are up there as far as the level of trust our clients have for us. But at the end of the day, it is transactional. And if it goes badly, it's bad, but they lose an earnest money deposit. If it goes badly with a financial advisor, that is their financial future we're talking about. So you need to recognize how high the stakes are for the person that you're approaching. And I don't think you should ever go to anyone and with your first conversation, the goal to get business out of them, right? But especially with them, the goal is to get a relationship with them, for them to know and trust you and the professional that you are, and then to be comfortable referring clients to you, because it is not, it is definitely about referring and you giving them good terms and good service and all that stuff, but it is, completely about you making them look good, and more importantly, not making them look bad. The minute that you do a transaction that a financial advisor referred to you and it goes sideways, that is almost certainly the end of your relationship with that financial advisor, because they have way too much at stake. So that's you just kind of have to get your mindset with that, and when you're approaching them, and recognize that it is something that can be very fruitful, especially in refinance markets. You have a financial advisor that you're close with, and it's a refinance market. You are going to refinance every single client they work with. But it takes a little bit to get there, is the first thing I talk to them about.
That's huge, man. Let me ask you a few side questions here then, because you're right, man. With financial planners, when I think anybody, they refer you, it is so important that we represent them to the highest level, right? What are some ways, and some of the ways that, I try to really improve on? It's really easy to be a great loan officer when things are going well, but when it comes to like complicated loans or denials or things that aren't positive, how do you typically handle that to maintain that relationship? So, that integrity of that relationship with you and the financial planner and the client. That's out of left field. Sorry.
I just never screw up. That's my plan.
Sure.
Which, I mean, I say it jokingly, but there's some truth behind it. My business model is like, we have as high of a level of expertise as possible. I have one processor on the front end, one on the back end, one doing pre-approvals, one doing live loans. They were both underwriters for over 10 years.
Right.
I recognize not every broker is necessarily can be in that position right now, but every broker can step up the level of operational support that they have and the expertise in one way or another. You might not be able to go to what I'm talking about right now, but you can do better than you're doing right now. And I think we'll probably talk about that more in a little bit. And that's if you really want that business, you just have to have the button. You can't fake it. I mean, you can, it won't last very long, right?
Totally.
You need to have a buttoned up back end that we're talking about here. But when I really don't have transactions completely blow up, but not everything goes perfectly. I mean, once again, this is usually a refinance business, so it's not the hardest business on earth. Like, they qualified once, they'll qualify again. But when minor stuff does come up, it's just like anything else. You want to stay ahead of it. When there might be a problem, get ahead of it, because if you are communicating with the financial advisor, hey, I just wanted to update you, we're in good shape, but they were minorly tweaked about the fact that they didn't know their taxes went up, or whatever the issue is that they might be interpreting differently. You need to be relaying that message to the financial advisor, so that you're controlling the accuracy of the message, and not a client who might be emotional about it. At the end of the day, if the client's not happy, they're not happy, but you just got to get ahead of it. Everybody has a tendency when there's an issue to stick their head in the sand and, it'll be fine, it'll work itself out. And while it probably is true, or it might be true, the problem might work itself out as far as that transaction concerned. It might not work itself out as far as that relationship is concerned. And first thing I learned in this industry was just what you said. It's easy to deliver good news. Delivering bad news is the true testament of a real professional. And frankly, it's something that takes practice in how to deliver it, and acknowledging the problem, but immediately presenting solutions.
Right.
I mean, and you have to have a solution ready, but yeah.
I got to tell you, for the newer loan officers, I think for me, that was the hardest thing, was delivering that bad news. And my strategy I used in the beginning was put my head in the sand. I would avoid it. I would not, because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You know what I mean?
Or you're scared they're going to be mad at you.
Right.
And they might be, they are so much less off. If the person you're talking to is also a professional,
right?
They probably won't be. They'll probably be like, okay, how can we fix this? As opposed to, they know yelling at you is not going to help.
Right.
But yeah, you're going to get, and if they are going to yell at you, they're going to yell at you at one point or another, either now or later when they find out. So there's no avoiding it. Just take a walk, rip the Band-Aid off and do it.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is probably an overused analogy, but that whole thing, that one book about the buffaloes and the cow, how, the cows run away from the storm, but they're in the storm a lot longer because they're running with it, where the buffalo goes right into it and it gets through it quicker and usually with less pain. And I think that's what I found, especially as I get experience, is that when you got bad news, you just got to deliver it right away.
See, that I didn't know that analogy, so I don't think it's overused.
The buffalo. There it is.
Be a buffalo, baby.
That's great.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think though that's a relationship ruiner, is that when you're not communicating what's going on. And I do find, like you said here in my notes, it says get ahead of it. That's key. The moment I think something's wrong, although I gotta tell you, I don't deliver it in a way where it's like it's a really constructed delivery, right? Because I always want to make sure there's no surprises. I want people to know that I'm on top of it. So that's
No, yes, absolutely. So the easiest example I have is when an appraisal comes in low. Because I don't want to act like I have appraisals come in low all the time, but you do enough business, it's something that you're going to be pretty used to having, right?
Yep.
And how you handle that discussion and you break the news
Right.
it is a difference in the world. And I'm dealing with an issue, another, like a loan officer's coming to me and they had an appraisal come in $56,000 low. It's a $700,000 transaction and everyone's freaking out. And they just say, hey, the appraisal came in $56,000 low.
Right.
And that was it. And it's just like, everyone's freaking out. It's like, oh my God, no. Like, and whereas opposed to the appraisal came in low, I recognize that this is not good news, but I'm going to explain all of our options and know that the worst case scenario is not that bad. Let's break it down in real numbers. Here are our options, negotiate with the seller, rebuttal, And then in this case scenario, the worst case option is they're putting 20% down. Okay, now it is a 15% down loan. And you have $40 of mortgage insurance for 3 years.
Totally.
This transaction is not dying over $40 a month, right? Like, and that is completely, we're going to go back. Everything's going to be fine on this transaction, but it is much harder for me to come in and fix it after the fact when we've already lost control of the messaging, right? So that's a very straightforward example.
Yes. I mean, have you ever had someone deliver news to you that's so confident that you knew they had it under control, even if it wasn't what you wanted to hear, but you just knew it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus somebody that is reacting in such a way that they're based off fear and stuff.
No. Yeah. It's like, all right, well, that sucks, but they've got it under control. Cool.
Yeah. Totally.
And like formatting your emails, I think is important. So the way I described it, that email, like I do the opening and then I'm like bold, underline, renegotiating with the seller. Here's how that works. Like just look like a freaking professional. So that's easy advice on delivering bad news. Just that, embrace it and like start talking solutions, start talking next steps, get in control of what we're doing from here.
This guy, I can't remember what his name is. Great guy. His name's slipping me, but I first started delivering bad news by sending an email that says, I have good news, bad news, and great news.
Yeah.
He trained me to just like always end like with the appraisal, right? The good news is the appraisal's in. Hey, the bad news is it came in $50,000 short, but here's the great news. The great news, it's only going to cost you $40 a month. You're still going to be able to, blah, blah, blah. And it was so powerful. And it just helped me construct those emails in a winning way.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. There were a couple things that are on my mind with financial advisors to think about differently. On financial advisors, you're going to find you're going to find some of them have very hard beliefs about structures of mortgages that you want to be very aware of and very conscious of when you're talking to their clients.
Yep.
And some of them are more middle ground and just like whatever, whatever the client wants, as long as they're not making a huge financial mistake. Some are adversely opposed to 15-year mortgages. And some are in love with them. So you kind of want to know which side of it they are. Some say you should put as much down as possible. Some think you should put as little down as possible. And you want to make sure that you're aware of those, I'll just call them biases,
right?
That they have. And I'm a believer that neither is right or wrong. I'm more of some are right for some people, others are right for others. I think if like you're a federal employee with a pension in retirement, it makes some sense to have a mortgage for a long period of time. But if you have very unpredictable employment, maybe differently. Anyways, you get the idea. Like
I do.
But you just want to be aware that you don't step in it very quickly by giving advice contrary to what they are practicing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to repeat that because I think that's really important, because if they give you a client and you're giving their client, in my eyes, the financial planner is the client and that's their client. That's how I view it. So I always want to honor them. And what you're saying to me is if that financial planner is telling them, hey, put as much money down as possible, let's just say, right? And then I'm saying put as less money down as possible. I'm creating a you know what I mean, a contradiction, and I'm
and
not
you
serving
need
my client.
and you need to like let even
Yeah.
yes, like the financial advisor is the client, or the way I'd like to look at it is like you need to like acknowledge that they have a better perspective of this person's overall financial situation than you do, and their goals and all that stuff. And if you're sitting there and you're like, well, this person's giving bad advice, this and that, then you shouldn't be working with that financial advisor. Because if you think they're not serving their client's best interest, that's a problem, right? But like either with them or with your ego, frankly.
Right.
But like they're not just looking out for this home purchase, but the entire picture. So you got to keep that in mind.
Ooh, Gerald, Gerald just beat me. I think it's Gerald.
Yeah.
My next question is, where do you meet your financial planners?
Well, I was one for a little bit. So short of that, I think networking events, I mean, it kind of depends on the market you're in. I'm in the DC metropolitan area. I'm on the board of my Chamber of Commerce. It's a very high net worth area. So there's a lot of financial advisors here.
Right.
So they're involved in the Chamber of Commerce or, weekly, monthly networking events. I was a BNI member for a long period of time. And there's always a financial advisor in there.
Right.
So any networking event that a financial advisor would typically go to, I think would be a good spot for it. Yep. Chamber of Commerce. There you go.
Yep. And then, just kind of going off that, you guys, on the Chamber of Commerce thing, something that worked for me, and I would love to hear, Brendan, what you have to say about this, is that and we talked a little bit about this last week, is I never said no to a meeting when I first started. Because remember, everybody knows somebody, right?
Yep.
And so if I'm meeting with, like, let's say a contractor, they know a financial planner, perhaps, right?
Yep.
Or if they don't, I can introduce them to a financial planner. So it just creates this circle, and that the more you do it, the more momentum you gain, and the more people you're just going to meet. I mean,
the more relationships you have, man. And like, if that person's super plugged in with the chamber and stuff, and like, I'm happy to talk about, I have a lot of hard opinions about networking. Like,
let's do it, man.
Yeah. Like networking, especially in Chamber of Commerce, you don't go to events looking for clients. You go looking to make friends and relationships, right?
Yep.
And I think you should join a Chamber of Commerce for the right reasons. Yes, everybody is there in the back of their mind. They want, to eventually get business out of it. But the people that are successful, in my opinion, Chamber of Commerce are there because they care about the business community that chamber represents. So like, I joined my chamber because I'm from here, my business is here, and I'm never leaving, right? And like, I care about what happens to the economy in this community, and the Chamber of Commerce is a fantastic way to have a voice, to either be in the know on what's going on, and have a voice in it. Like the chamber speaking together can actually have a large impact on, policy and the economy in your area and stuff like that. So you go into it for the right reasons. If you don't feel that way, that's okay. Don't join the chamber. Find something else that you do feel that way about, and join that, and you'll get business from that too. So but going to the chamber stuff, like, just go looking to make friends. Like the saying I kind of do, like, you're going to like a happy hour or whatever, and I've done this at networking events before, like, welcome everyone, and I'm say, hey, I have a question, like, who here has something to sell, right? And everybody raises their hand. It's like, well, who came here to buy something? Nobody raises their hand. So like, it's like, all right, good news. There's no buyers here, so stop selling and just go get to know each other, right? And like,
great,
yeah, and it's the truth, man. Don't worry. That whole, like, how many business cards can I hand out? I hate that shit. Like, I think that the past generations have no idea how to network. They're way too like pushy and salesy, and nobody likes that stuff. I guess it worked 30 years ago, but I don't think it works right now. Just go be cool. I would much rather like potentially meet one or two people that I actually look forward to seeing again and might go to coffee with, than have 30 people have my business card. That's worthless.
Yeah. I agree. And you know what? I've done that before, where I've sat and talked with somebody, and they're kind of looking over my shoulder. They're kind of looking around for somebody else to
it's
talk
rude.
to. It's like,
it's so rude.
I mean, you can sense it, you know what I mean? That they don't want, their presence isn't with you.
Nope.
Right.
No.
That's great though, man. How many people come here to buy something? Nobody raises their hand.
So
That is
chill
true.
out.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Chamber of Commerce. I love my Chamber of Commerce. I've been on the board and executive committee for a couple of years now. I'm a big believer in it.
That's crazy. You do a lot. I got to tell you, I need to say this again. You do a lot for the community.
Thanks, man.
And you do not sacrifice on volume. That is,
well, maybe.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, you do. But you know what I mean? But your volume is still amazing.
Yeah.
Mr.
No,
Fruity.
it's tough to balance. The biggest thing is like I just stay very regimented with my schedule.
Yeah.
My background is in operations, mortgage operations. So is my entire team. So our focus is on that stuff. Like, the first thing I'll tell when I give this presentation on our process flow is like, all of you know how to do your job and you know the things that you do from the beginning to the end of the process, but almost no one has it written down, which is insane to me. Like, you're a professional, like act like it, like have your process written down. What company or industry doesn't have like a manual on how they do things, right? Like 100%. This stuff's important. And like, but just taking the time to actually write your process down, you will learn a lot. You will have a very different perspective on how you're doing things and the efficiency of it. Sit down with your team and do it. You are doing double work with your team right now. I guarantee it. And then on top of that, you'll be like, oh, this is a smarter way to do this. Yeah. Or like, this is a better way to communicate that. Any loan officer sends out whatever number of application emails, fill out my online application or do this, do that, or some other version of some email you send out 50 times a year. One version of it is the best and one is the worst of that 50. So stop and everything else is somewhere in between and just send the best one every single time. Like, not enough people are leveraging, templates and automation and stuff like that. And it just saves so much time. So that's, I don't know, that's the secret to how I do that.
That is huge. Let me ask you a question. Speaking of templates, so now we go to networking meetings, BNI, all these places, friends, family. I don't think it's hard to meet financial planners. I really don't. No. I think if you're out there enough and you're giving enough, you will get some appointments. And when you're at their first appointment, what typically do you cover with them?
I mean, I start by I just ask them questions. Like, I honestly, even that first appointment, I'm still the getting to know you phase. Like, I'm not expecting a client after that meeting. I just want to get to know them. Like, I'd rather just hang out. Like, let's go get a beer. Let's go get lunch. Right. If they want me to come to their office and do a presentation, I will. But like, that's just not my style. I just want to get to know them and be friends. Like, they know at the end of the day what I want. Like, I don't need to tell them all these reasons that they should be referring me business. Sure. If they like me and they trust me and they know what I do, they're going to refer me business. Right. Once I've established that, I just need to stay on top of mine, right? So in that first meeting, I'm just asking them questions. Where do you get your business from? All friend, do you have kids? Are you married? All the get to know you stuff. But on the business related side, where do you get your business from? What's your typical client look like? What are some of the problems that they have? What are some of the problems that you have? You can offer on helping them get more business. In my experience, and I've tried, it is, I don't want to say it's completely one way from them to you. But oftentimes it is, at least for me. A lot of the people I work with are pretty financially savvy and might already have someone or something like that, but it is a harder referral to give out. Right. But just learn about their business. And then once you know about their business and what their clients look like, maybe then there's an opportunity to start filling in gaps on what you can offer now that you know what's actually important to them. Right. But yeah, asking questions is like the cheat code to getting anybody to like you, especially salespeople. They love talking about themselves, right? Like, I love this right now. Thank you, Paul, for asking all these questions about me. So that's it. Just ask them a million questions and be interested in what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying, ask follow-up questions to their responses, Oh, you have kids? That's interesting. How old are they? Oh, cool. Like, what sports is your 7-year-old into? Like that kind of stuff. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know, normal interested conversation stuff.
Now, do you ever find yourself talking about products your first date or your first meeting? Just curious.
No,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't
I just
think
want people to hear
so.
that too, because I think there's a pull that if people meet the first time, it goes back to what we were saying, that lights up.
No. So think about it this way, like
Yeah.
you get calls from account executives from wholesale lenders, right?
Mhm.
And most of those calls
Mm.
or emails are just them spitting out what
Oh,
they think.
it's atrocious.
It's
It really
awful.
is.
Here's because they think this is their niche where they fit into the market, right?
Yeah.
That is not for one-on-one conversation. That's for blasting out on LinkedIn and social media and stuff like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's I still ignore all that stuff, but like, and then they're just like, you don't care about any of this stuff. And then there's the smart account executives, like, hey Paul, I was checking out your website. That's so cool that you and your wife Danielle work together. Like, how does that go? I know you've got probably great, but some unique problems. Tell me about that, right? Like, and that both of these people want you to send them business. That is given by the fact that they're calling you. Nobody needs to spit it out. Like, but like, whatever, they took 30 seconds to learn a little bit about you, or even if they didn't do that, they like, hey, Paul, like, I'm working for so-and-so, I'm calling, like, I think we have some great things to offer. But before I even get into that, like, tell me about your business. Tell me where you get clients from. Tell me where your pain points are. And maybe there's something that I can help with, and maybe not, and that's okay. Like, if they approach it like that, you're so much more willing to be like, to spill your fucking guts. And then they've got you, or they have a way better opportunity to getting you than the first person does, right? So it's the exact same thing.
I agree. I had this lady, I can't remember, I do remember her name, I'm not going to say. She came in my office and just started going off, man. It was overwhelming, first of all, that she just came in my office, and then she was talking only about her and her, it was the craziest thing. And then she left, and I thought to myself, if she would have done a little bit of research on me, she would know that I don't do any non-QM loans.
Yeah.
And if she just would have asked the question, hey, Paul, why don't you do any non-QM loans? You're missing out on a lot of money. I probably would have told her why. You know what I mean? And that would have developed a different type of relationship versus now when I see this person come, like the lights are off.
You're running.
I don't have 20 minutes to hear about nails, right?
No, yeah. And like you said,
I like nails though.
At least it's a conversation, and it might not lead to you working with her at the end, but it might. And even if it doesn't, like, the next time she calls you, I don't know, like, if she just softly stays in touch with you, even if there's not an opportunity with you right now, there might be one day. And as long as she stays top of mind and doesn't piss you off where you like her, and then if one day you're like, you know what, I have a non-QM scenario, I think this is going to be my first one. You would be calling her, right? But now, absolutely not, Now,
speaking of, like follow-up and stuff like that, what do you think? So you got your first meeting, you really just are asking questions about them. You're getting to know them at a different level, right? To gain that trust. You may have some few ideas on solutions and stuff like that. How do you start? How do you stay in touch? What's your follow-up system?
Not very good. I'll tell you what it should be, but before I do, like,
please, kind
of the beauty of the Chamber of Commerce and similar networking events, right? You don't need to follow up. You're going to see them again. You're going to see them at the next event, like, and no pressure whatsoever, right? Like, oh, hey, Anna, good to see you. Like, what's up? How'd your kid's baseball game go? You told me about before, whatever, blah, 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 stuff that people talk about, So that's built into it. When, and that's one of the reasons I don't like going to their meeting, going to their office and doing some formal presentation, because then what else is there? What's next other than doing business together and you bugging them for business? So it's so much better when you meet them socially. And if you like, I only work with people I actually do want to be friends with, because then I have a reason to invite them to things socially. My like marketing and business is I kind of throw parties is what I do. I throw a big holiday party. This Saturday, I'm having our company anniversary party. We volunteer for 4 hours, and then we go to a brewery for 4 hours. So I invite all these people to things like that, where, it's just, of course, yeah, that sounds cool. I'll go to that. And like, they like me and they want to support the company and this and that. And like, so you just build in soft stuff like that to invite them to. It's like, this analogy is overused. Like, think of it like a date. Like, just take it very soft and okay, we go for coffee for our first date or whatever, and maybe a bar to a second one or something. And think of it, or like, if I was doing it on somebody where I didn't have reasons to see them, I might try to like get a small group together of professionals and be like, you know, hey Bob, like me and these 3 other people, and here's who they are and what they do, are going out to get drinks in the like 2 Saturdays from now. Like I think you'd like to get to know them, and try to think about professionals that can refer to financial advisors, like maybe a divorce attorney or something like that. Thinking about like, be like, hey, like the 3 of us are going to get drinks. I think you'd really like these 2. I think you'd get along. Like, you should definitely come and meet them. That's a good way to go about it. That's how I would sell people on coming to my BNI meeting as visitors. I'd be like, our realtor's a rock star. You got to come meet our realtor, Mr. I do sales for a moving company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sell somebody else.
That's huge, man. I got to tell you, I just want to point out again, you're a giver, man. That is why, you know, you're going out. This was it Saturday or Sunday for your company's anniversary. 4 hours of community time, followed by going to the brewery. I got to tell you, I would say about 99.9% of companies do not do that volunteering.
It's cool, man. That like,
I'm really inspired about.
This nonprofit's awesome. I like, in general, whether it's nonprofits or anything, I'm big on like solutions that actually attack the problem and not the symptoms of the problem, right? And this nonprofit is called A Wider Circle. They do it. So it's an easy way for, we're gonna have 30 people out there helping out. Like it's awesome. Who are the 30 people? Who are the 30 people? Is it your company or do you invite people? No, Jesus Christ. You think I can manage 30 people? No, I can't even manage myself. Our company's, we have there's 3 of us and essentially two part-time people. No, it's just like, I invite the rest of the board from the Chamber of Commerce. I invite the executive committee. I invite all of our past clients. I invited all the people that showed up to the holiday party. I created a Facebook group. Like, my secret to getting people to show up to stuff is inviting 10 to 100 times as many people as you want to be there. I invited 1,800 people to my holiday party, and we had 250 show up, and it was awesome, right? Like 1,800 people. What? Oh my God! Yeah, that's about right. I think it's about 30% of the people that even they say yes will show up. About 30% or so. But even if they, but like when I invite clients, I know there's no chance they're like driving from Baltimore to come, but they appreciate that they were invited. Like when you're inviting people to stuff, like, don't be like, oh, they'll never come. First of all, they might surprise you, but also like, people like being invited to things, and they definitely don't like finding out that you hosted something and didn't invite them. And it's like, oh, that sucks, you know? So I just invite everyone, man. So I'm starting to get your formula a little bit. You're extremely active in the community. You give back tremendous amount. And in these circles that you operate and give back in, there's a lot of financial planners. I can tell you, we do a lot of nonprofit work as well. Cool. And there is a lot, I mean, financial planners go there. I mean, that's just what they do, right? Because at a certain point, I think people get, I don't want to say bored, but they want more with their life. And they want to start being fulfilled a little bit. So that's where we meet a lot of people as well. So then you meet the people, you have lunch, you connect with them on a personal level, you ask all about them, which is huge. By the way, I'm taking notes here. Good. Next year, I'm going to be 38. You're going to be 39. It's going to get you that extra $500,000 or whatever to be. Yeah. Right. And then, then you throw these events, you're giving back, you're inviting them to those events, which is huge. It's a touch point. Dude, and like less. Our holiday party, like we spend a few bucks on it. It's nothing crazy. We cater it and stuff. But like what we're doing on Saturday, the volunteering is obviously free. And the brewery, we're buying food. We're not even buying beers for people. We're just like, come join us at the brewery afterwards. Food's on us. That's it. Awesome. You don't buy the booze for them? maybe next refinance boom, we'll do it again. I don't know.
God, I had this one. I'm shy to go back and buy booze for people because we had a bad experience.
Did you
Ooh.
really?
Yeah, she hit 2 cars on their way out of town.
Oh no.
Oh my God. Anyways.
Yeah, that's a good reason not to do it too.
But it was fun though.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what that's powerful. I mean, I think that is truly the formula. So just to break it down one more time, BNI, networking. I mean, how many events do you think a new person should go to a week, or at least search for a week? What should be
As many as your significant other will allow you to go to. You
That's-
have the time. You have the time to do it.
You do.
Like, on the like Chamber of Commerce. Once again, this depends on the region. Some chambers are more active than others.
Right.
And if there's the town over has a really active chamber, go join that one. Whatever. Like go to But like my Chamber of Commerce, I could, just by joining that, I could be at events, I don't know, 10 to 12 events a month if I wanted to.
That's huge.
And yeah, so, and then there's always other local stuff. I mean, get out and meet people. So as many, especially in the beginning, you're not doing anything else. So
that's it.
know.
I love Facebook memories because it reminds me of stuff I used to do. And one of the things we used to do, there's this place in Nevada called Los Guitarras. On the very top, you could rent out the place. And what we did is we got these really cheap meal plans. It was like $9 for a taco. I don't know what it was, but it was something cheap. So everyone had to pay for their own meal, right? But what I did is I brought in this speaker that was a few speakers that were absolutely amazing, whether it be CPA panel, whether it be this guy wrote a book on the power of the brain. He actually came in because he was local here. I had a memory guy come in, and it was such a great way to reach out to people, to connect with them, invite them somewhere, and provide a place where they can meet other people. And the thing is when you start doing that, I got to get back to that. This is 2 weeks in a row we've talked about this. I got to get back in my community outside of this Zoom world, start giving back. When you start doing that, people really start to appreciate you and want to help you out more. That's just my experience.
No, and like all this stuff, it's not short-term stuff. Like we're talking about relationships and doing things for the right reasons and stuff like that. But and when I first got licensed and went this route, like it was lean for a while. 2019 was my first big year. And then it exploded. All this work I had been putting in, when there was a lot of opportunity for me, I was drinking out of a fire hose. I mean, I did 185 million in 2020. It was absolutely insanity. And that's what folks focused me to hone down on my process. I was like, I need to figure out how to do as much of this business as possible and do it cleanly. So it pays off, and it takes a while, but it definitely pays off. But yeah, you mentioned BNI, and like BNI can sometimes be a polarizing thing. Like not all BNI groups are created equally is the thing that I would give people advice to on BNI. Like, I had an incredible experience with BNI. I've been in 3 groups. 2 were great. 1 was a dud. But the quality of the realtor will not completely dictate whether it's a good fit or not, but it will have a large part of it. So I just want to put that out there to keep in mind too. But if you can find a good BNI group, in 2020, I mentioned 2020, I did 25 million alone just for my BNI group. And in 2021, I did something like 17 or 18 million, something like that.
Huge. And the one thing about BNI groups too is like my BNI group was okay, but sometimes they have these like area mixers and stuff like that. And you'd go and you would just meet so many people. And the thing is, I'm actually an introvert, right? And so it's hard for me to go there and just talk to everybody. But it goes to your point, though. It goes to your point. So I'd pick 1 or 2 people and just really connect with them. And then slowly and surely they would introduce me to people. I would introduce them to people. And next thing you know, you have this huge community. It's fabulous.
And that's the other trick of it too. Just like go out there, like having somebody else sell you is so much better than you selling yourself.
Oh my God, yes.
And if you are leading the charge with it and you're going around introducing everyone to everybody and no, it's just a cool way to be, right? But also like psychologically, and if you're going to be manipulative about it, it ain't going to work. But like when you are helping other people and introducing them to other people, psychologically, they're going to feel indebted to you and they're going to want to repay that favor to you. And so it's like, the givers gain stuff is psychologically true. If you're out there helping a bunch of people, you have a bunch of people out there wanting to help you. The other little trick, when you are ingrained in a networking group, like in a chamber of commerce, for example, and you can tell when somebody walks in the room, right, and it is the first time that they have been there, and they have that deer in the headlights look. Paul, you probably have that look when you walk into somebody's
totally
room.
It's like, what am I doing here? I'm gonna go sit in a corner.
Right. And they've done tests on this and there's studies on it. And that feeling of walking into a room full of people that you don't know, that all know each other, is one of the most terrifying experiences and feelings people have. And they have unbelievably high stress levels and apprehension levels about it. And if you see somebody in that situation and you go over to them, you introduce, hey, my name is Brendan McKay. Like, are you new to the chamber? I'm on the board. Like, come, whatever. Fucking throw a lifeline out to them.
Yeah.
You are their favorite person on earth. Like, and you're like, oh, you do so and so. Let me introduce you to these people over here. This and that. It is something that once you get good at it, you can do it in 5 or 10 minutes. Have a conversation with them, get to know them, introduce them to somebody else that they'll have something in common with and talk to, and then go to the bathroom. You are like that person's favorite person on earth. And like, once again, if you do it and you're just doing it to be manipulative, like, I don't think it's going to work out, or whatever, screw that. But like, it's just a cool way to be. Be nice and thoughtful to other people. You know what I mean?
The giver mentality. Brendan McKay, there it is, man. I think you're 100% right, because as you're talking, I'm smiling. I remember this one lady. I'm terrible with names, but she was that deer in headlights. She walked in, and by this time I was comfortable. I knew the majority of the people, and you could just tell. She's like, "Oh my God, what am I doing here? I have to be here. I'm scared. I want to leave." And I just went up to her and just started talking to her, and just really made her feel welcome. It turned out, her husband was a CHP officer, and as a lender, we used to do Homes for Heroes. And she's like, "Oh, you got to meet my husband." I mean, I wasn't even asking.
That's cool.
But because I made her feel good and safe, maybe, perhaps, right? She did way more than I ever did for her. And
she went from, I'm terrified, oh God, like probably thinking about turning around and leaving,
just jetting,
like, oh my God, someone's being nice to me. Like, this is great, like, and it's all you. Like, you were the one that did that. And she's just like, oh man, you are like elevated to like just below like lifetime friends as far as like how much she likes you at that point. So yeah, man.
And let me just get this into perspective, right? So, there's like ways to create business, and there's the grinding way with the cold calling realtors and stuff like that. And then there's this way, right? There both ways are ways, but one way really feels good. I'm not going
to. Like, when I started originating, because I don't do any of that. I don't cold call realtors. I don't. And I should do more than I do. I acknowledge that. But like, when I started originating and went out on my own, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this my way. Like, here are the things that I like doing. I'm going to do those. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back to doing this shit over here that I don't like doing, but I'm going to try it my way first. And now, we do quite a bit of business, and I do stuff that I enjoy doing all day long, and it's great.
Now, everything we're talking about with everything, there's not just limited to financial planners. There's CPAs, insurance. I mean, this spreads to everybody.
Divorce attorneys.
Oh, well, we got a good little chat here. So I'm going to read what Amanda wrote. One of the finances long walked up to me and said, "It was nice to meet another woman in finance. Want to walk with me and meet some other people?" She literally took me around the room, introducing me to people. That's huge.
That's awesome.
After she reached out and said, "I think you'd benefit." Okay, man, I can't read it more. My glasses.
You're good. No, she introduced her to a bunch of people. It did exactly what we were talking about. And like, it's absolutely true.
A free self-defense class. I've done that before. It's amazing. That's huge. Class. Yeah. And so let me just walk this through. This is what I would do. And I would love to hear what you would do. After. So now all of a sudden you have this wonderful person, just like Amanda, taking you around and meeting people, right? I would get their cards, or at least when I talk to the person, I'd be like, "Hey, do you have their contact information?"
Yeah, well, and asking somebody for their card is very different than you giving them your card unsolicited, right? Like,
100%. Oh,
yeah,
here's my
yeah,
card. Give me a call. Yeah, no.
yeah, yeah,
And then what I do the next morning is I call and just sincerely appreciate, thanking them for introducing them and just compliment them. It was my first time. You made it really easy. I'm really excited to get to know you, and just let the conversation flow.
yep.
I would say
And
more often than not, people will want to meet with you because that's what they do.
yep.
That's why they go there.
Or you can just call and say thank you and be like,
That's
I'm
it.
looking forward to running into you again. Don't ask for anything,
Yeah.
and just be like, whatever. If the conversation goes in that direction, great. And just be like, hey, I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
be vulnerable with them. Be like, I was
Oh,
terrified walking into that room, and I really
yeah.
appreciate what you did for me. I'm looking forward to being part of this group in the future, yada yada. And I just wanted to express my appreciation.
Are you into thank you cards?
I am a big believer in thank you cards. I have done thank you cards in the past. It's something I've fallen off of. The habit of doing just for time. Whatever. I should be doing it. There's a million things I should be doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you have the time to do it, you absolutely should. It goes a really long way. I love getting handwritten thank you cards. I am a big believer in saying thank you, and I send people thank you emails when they're not expecting it. Especially operations people. I've been in operations, they never get thanked. All they do is get yelled at, and you will be at the top of their order to review files if you say thank you to them. So yeah.
There it is, you guys. I can't add anything onto that. Awesome. We have a few more minutes before we're going to open up to questions. Is there anything that you want to chat about that perhaps I didn't ask? Because you have a lot of tools and I don't want to limit it. Is there anything that you would want to share? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but sometimes there's that feeling that you want to talk about something.
No, I mean, the biggest thing takeaways, like, if there is one thing that I think every loan officer could be doing to improve their business and get more business, it's leveraging video far more than most people are doing right now. And especially when you're sending over figures to people.
Yeah.
Mortgages are really complicated, and most like a fee worksheet and frankly most sheets I've seen designed to display a mortgage, I think, are terribly designed.
Totally.
If you find a good one, great. I designed one for us, but when I send them over to them, so I have my initial conversation with them, I ask a million questions, yada yada, send the online application. I typically send numbers whether they fill it out or not, depending on their circumstances. But so I work up the figures, structure everything, send it over to them as a PDF, and then I record a video where I have my smiling face up here in a little bubble, and then all the numbers right there. And it's a 5 to 7 minute video. I record it one for everyone, and I go through all the numbers. And I talk about all the complicated parts, and I am included in this group of people. A lot of people, their ability to understand numbers when the person explaining it to them is pointing at them at the same time goes up drastically than if they're just sent to me, or if I'm on the phone with somebody and I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right place. So you should absolutely be using video for that stuff. It also establishes a personal connection. It is not as good as meeting in person, but it is far better than a phone call. It will also save you a ton of time. It is one of those things that takes a little more time, 5 minutes to record the video, that you wouldn't be doing if you just sent it to them. It will save you so many questions. And once again, going back to the bad news stuff, same strategy, control the message, right? If they look at the closing costs and they're like, holy shit, $10,000 is a lot of money, Paul is expensive.
Yep.
Or you send them the breakdown where they see you have no lender fees or maybe $1,000 lender fee. Right. And you're like, all these are third-party costs. No matter who you work with, you're getting these. Like, oh, okay, Paul's very cheap. Paul costs nothing. Yep. Right? It's very different. So you're controlling the message on it, and it'll save you a 30-40 minute phone call with them confused. And now they're firing questions at you from a point of confusion instead of you explaining from a position of power, right? So that is it's so easy. I use Loom. There's so many softwares out there that can do it. They're free versions, they're cheap. Yep. You got to do it.
Yeah, video. No, I can't remember what that
is. It like Vimo, VIM,
something like that? Yeah. Have you ever used Mortgage Coach?
No, but people say it's good for that stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I have not.
Yeah. But it may not be, you know, it may not be as good as yours, because I think you created your own template, like you were saying.
Yeah, I have an
It's
Excel
awesome.
sheet. I'm happy to share it with anyone, but it's not, it
Can I
is,
post it? Can I post it in the
yeah,
academy, right? Like a
absolutely.
presentation that you had done.
Yep, it's a 7 out of 10 on the user-friendly scale is what I'll tell you right now.
Right.
It's not, we designed it internally. It's not something we designed to put to market, right? So, but if you're good with Excel, you'll be able to figure it out pretty easily.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, you guys, got about 5 more minutes. Please, if you guys have questions, chime in. You know, if not, I have another question for Brendan that we're going to chat about, because I think so cut me off if you have a question, you guys, but I think I would love for you to talk a little bit about this, unless we get cut off. Processes. You mentioned it, a template email. You guys, I think a lot of people feel like you have to have unique messages for everybody. I'm the exact opposite. I want to be more like Starbucks, and I want to make sure that they get the same, everybody gets the same consistency from me. And so I have a lot of templates. I would love to hear what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, I mean, like going back to the importance of video and explaining numbers because they're complicated. The entire process is complicated. I put a ton of focus into communicating as clearly as possible, to minimize those, oh, I can't believe they didn't know that moments. Like, when we're the professional in the process, right? When the borrower does something stupid that they didn't know, it's like, it's my fault. It's not their fault. You know what I mean? So if you're crafting unique messages to everybody, I simply don't think it's possible to be communicating as effectively as possible to everybody. Maybe to 80% of them, half of them, whatever, but there's going to be 20% that they understood your message differently than you intended it. Where if you're writing it out and just using the same one every single time, they're going to understand it. And sometimes you might go, oh, they're not going to read all that. I mean, keep it short, keep it concise, but like, they're not going to read it. They're just going to click through everything anyways and not worry about it, which is what I do personally for that kind of stuff. So I just think it's unbelievable heightened importance that you're delivering a consistent experience. You will minimize the number of problems that you have. And at the end of the day, it's all about getting more business, right? So 100%. You can have the best terms, you can win them over, they can love you, you can explain everything to them better early in the process. But if they trip and their way to closing and are confused and this and that, and they suddenly get a loan estimate and are like, whoa, what the hell is all this? And that kind of stuff, you're delivering negative experiences, you're never going to get a referral from that person. So it was all for naught, so that's the importance of it. And that's how like a lot of like very high margin lenders are able to exist. Use the biggest one in the country for an example, right? Like their terms are terrible, and their process is great, but like they communicate incredibly well and they market incredibly well. And if you can do the same but actually have good terms, like you're gonna kick ass. That's it.
It's crazy how they use them so much. I'm like, you guys, it's like it's the highest rate almost out there in terms of cost. It's crazy. That's wonderful, man. What else I do is that when I send numbers out, I send it to the borrower and to the realtor, because what happens for me is like when the realtor goes, I never want that conversation to go, hey, their payments are much higher, right, than what they're quoted. And I go, well, let's look into this. Remember that email? So I bring them back to the email and they go, that's not true. That's exactly what you quoted. So
I like that.
Videos to cover my tail with realtors.
I like that. I also like it, especially if you're, because part of the other reason I do the video, and I put like, and I'm happy to share like a hypothetical, like how I go through the numbers with people too. I put a lot of thought into that too, like how I explain escrows, how I explain third-party closing costs, and I teach people how to shop. I'm like, here's how to effectively shop.
That's
because I assume they're shopping anyways, right?
Totally.
So like, might as well make sure they're doing it accurately and not like being like, well, their rate's lower and they have 2 points, but you didn't explain it to them, right? So, but I like that because I know that the way I'm explaining numbers is a higher quality than anyone else is doing. And I do that because my goal is for clients, to love it so much that if I am not the lowest, they're going to come back to me and say, hey, we love you. You explained everything better. We want to work with you, but this other quote is better. And I'll either explain why it's not or beat it. Right. And then I get the business. I used to get pissy about that. Take your feelings out of it, man. And
Totally.
be happy that you have the opportunity. Otherwise, they would have ghosted you. Right. So
Absolutely.
But sharing that with a realtor, it's the same thing though, right? You know, like I don't know why I'm not. I love that idea because I don't just want to impress a client. I want to impress the realtor too.
Totally. Absolutely.
Dude, that's smart. That's really smart.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love, I'm so glad. I just want to say that again, right? You're a giver. I agree with you, man. I am not sitting here creating fear in people that they have to use me or they're not going to close. I know loan officers do that. And typically, I'm just going to throw that out there, and I hope somebody challenges me to this, is that those are typically the higher rate lenders, right? But myself, where I feel like I'm extremely competitive because I need to know I'm in line, or I'm not a great salesman. I am when I got a great product, and I do too. I teach them how to shop, man, because I want to make sure at the end of the day they do get the best rate. That's beautiful.
And
man.
I'm not one of these loan officers that says, "Oh, rate doesn't matter. Don't sell rate." This and that. I first of all, I hate the way that conversation's typically framed. Like you either have to sell rate or have to sell service.
Totally.
And can't have both. But even if you don't have the best of both, you can still acknowledge that they're both important to the client. And frankly, rate is more tangible than services. And even with as much of a focus as I put on, like showing that we're a cut above everyone else up front. People don't know how good you are until they get into the process, until they ratify on the contract. And if you're not good, it's usually too late, or they think it's too late to switch, which it doesn't matter whether it's real or not, right? So it's like a problem within our industry. Like by the time people realize they made the wrong decision on who to work with, it's too late and they're stuck with them. So you need to really focus on figuring out ways to show them how good you are up front, but also acknowledge that rate matters. Like rate just matters. And even like, I think sticking your head in the sand and pretending like it doesn't, you're not doing yourself any favors.
I agree.
So, you know, when I'm a consumer, I care about price, man. I care about service too, but I care about price, especially on a transaction, the biggest financial transaction I'm ever making in my life. You're damn right. I want to pay for as little for that as possible. So I think that mindset is more important. Both are important, you know. Acknowledge that and act appropriately.
That's beautiful, man. Hey, last thing, Gerald says, so you send out an LE when you pre-qualify someone and go over the numbers. I don't think that's what you do. Go ahead.
No, I have my own. Like I have there's a mortgage coach has one, you know, I just have a way of displaying the numbers for the terms. I mean, it's compliant and it has all the CYA, you know, CFPB language and all that crap on it and stuff. But I send over the quote in that format. If somebody requests an LE, I'll send it to them. I don't love to, like, I'm not sure what the breakdown between retail and wholesale is, but it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm a broker. I prefer the lender to disclose. I don't like sending out LEs in my name. I'll do it. I don't, you know, if somebody asks for it, I'll do it. But in my experience, the only time people ask for an LE is when they're shopping and the other loan officer is like, that's get something official, get an LE.
Totally.
Like, okay, here are the same numbers, like just because it's on a different form. I'm like, they, you know, think I'm lying or something, whatever.
But I think it's also really important to go back to your earlier point, is that when you're meeting a client and you just send them an LE, you're not really helping them mortgage plan. You're just giving them a list of numbers they don't understand. And it's awful.
It is. And you're setting yourself up for failure, because if they're looking at like the total payment and they're like, oh, this other person's payment's lower. And the estimated real estate tax is lower. Like you're screwed, man. And like, it sounds so stupid. Like, who would do that, man? Like, lots of people would do it. Like they don't have our level of knowledge. That's the whole point, you know.
My cousin bought a house in Tennessee, so we're not licensed in Tennessee, right? And he's all, hey, Paul, will you help me? I'm like, sure. To send me over the 3 quotes. I'm like, dude, we'll figure it out for you real quick. I couldn't figure out anything because the payments were different, because someone would use lower property taxes. So I didn't know what the right property taxes was in Tennessee. The fees were dramatically different. So somebody's lying and somebody's telling the truth. It was just
Well,
like,
and then some people send over quotes. They're just like, here's the rate, half a point. It's just like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, like.
so anyway, so add value, be their advisor, ask those questions, get a video template out, really give, guide them, make it more than just about rate. Have a good rate, but make it more about it. And then
Yep.
there you go.
No, my goal when I flat out tell clients this, I'm like, my goal is to put you in a position where you understand the information to the point that you are making informed decisions and doing things because you know it's the intelligent thing to do, not because I'm telling you what to do.
That's it.
And people love that. That's all they want. They want to be empowered. They want to feel comfortable. Buying a house is terrifying, whether it's your first time or your third time. It sucks. It's stressful. And you just want to feel like you're in control of the situation. And the best way to feel like you're in control is to be in control. So help them get there.
Awesome. All right, my friend, it's already 12:05, or it's my time 12:05. What, it's 3:05 your time?
3:05, yep.
Man, I really appreciate not only this, your time here, but I really want to acknowledge again for the 5th time how much you give back, not only to the broker community, but to your own community, to your family. Just you're a wonderful person, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate you. And thank you for sharing Danielle with that community. So I appreciate you, man.
I love Danielle, man. She makes my life so much easier.